Welcome to Hort Culture, where a group of extension professionals and plant people talk about the business, production, and joy of planting seeds and helping them grow. Join us as we explore the culture of horticulture. Bam, 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 bam. 100th episode. I wish I had like some really cool
100
things to play there, but you got my version of that.
Like a jock, like a DJ.
Yeah. You were your own soundboard. I appreciate that. Yeah, you were the soundboard. It kind of had a Parks and Rec vibe a little bit to it there.
Yeah,
you were making your own soundboard.
Crazy Ira.
Yeah,
I'm here for it. And some of you who are maybe used to listening to this podcast via YouTube are noticing that our beautiful faces are now on for the 100th episode.
You can actually see us.
You can see us.
Yes, you
These
can watch
are the
as well as
ridiculous
listen.
hand movements that we make during this process. For those of you who are listening in the old traditional way, we promise to make sure to remember that this is a audio thing mostly and not as much visual. But that being said, I want to show you my plant.
Yeah.
Okay? All right.
Show them off.
This is in a corgi pot. So I'll give some description. This is a corgi pot.
Ceramic corgi?
Ceramic corgi. That was given to me. I now have 3 of them because people see them, not all from the same person, all different people who they see them and they think, this is a pot that is a corgi. Obviously, Alexis needs it. And I'm quite flattered by that. So I love the fact that see?
Winner.
In it is a dragon fruit plant that I started from seed, and I'm real proud of it. So this thing in theory should get huge, but right now it's just little and pokey, and it sits in my office, and I have like a bunch more at home because I can't let them die. So
is that its name, Pokey, or is that just like a coincidence?
Dragon, obviously.
Okay, how about Pokey Dragon?
So anyways, this is my plant, and it is the Hort Culture podcast, so that felt like an appropriate first thing on our first video for the 100th episode.
Content. Very nice.
Good quality content.
To adapt Descartes, Corgito ergo es. Cogito ergo cogito.
Senor.
Yes.
I think therefore I am, you corgi, therefore you are.
Oh, okay.
I think that's how that would be the translation from the Latin. So for the 3% of people who liked what I just said, thank you very much. Well, I'm gonna break a little bit of our normal flow here and put this at the beginning to say, if you've been listening for a while or you're relatively new, if you haven't already taken the time to go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever format, whatever place you're listening, and give us ideally a 5-star review and leave a comment in the case of Apple Podcasts or wherever you might be, it really does help us to justify the keeping doing this to people that we work with, and it makes us feel good too as a side benefit.
We also appreciate it.
Yeah. So we put it at the end, and I know sometimes I tend to just, once the content is over, I skip past all that stuff. And so this one time, we don't front load asks for like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, for example. If this were a YouTube channel. Oh wait, it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, any of that feedback, it really does actually help us to keep doing this.
Mm-hmm. We do brag about it and how awesome all of you people are and all the places that you're listening from. So thank you for giving that to us.
You mentioned we're coming up on 100.
We are at 100, not coming up.
This is 100.
This is.
We've arrived on it.
It's the 100th episode of the food podcast. It feels like, I know, to some of you guys, we love introing with food.
You love talking about food.
Yes, I love eating food, and I love talking about it.
Part of horticulture is food. It's a lot of other things too.
Part of the culture. I like it, Alexis.
Food is part of the culture.
Yeah, a big part of it.
That's why I bring it up. Also, I like cheese. So what? Come at me.
You always have to slide into the fact of something with cheese.
Yeah.
I mean, cheese is always in season is why I enjoy that. Cheese is always in season. It is.
I am so good with that being something people relate to me. She always talks about cheese. Like, if that's the vibe, I'm okay with it.
That's what I'm known for. I'm fine with that, right?
Some would argue that value, and one of our former host, Josh Knight, would be among this group, would argue that value-added dairy is perhaps the highest form of human achievement because it's Yeah, it's amazing. It's the opportunity to capture all of this energy and flavor and delicious stuff, and you can also store it like for a while.
It lasts a
I
long
just
time.
heard Josh go off in my head all about that. Like I just heard his voice.
Well, speaking of old Josh, we've obviously kept up with him. He's relocated up to the New England area. We're still working in agriculture up there. Seemingly doing well, just drinking his weight in maple syrup, I assume.
I personally know a lot more about maple syrup now that he is in that area than I used to. So,
but this 2024, we celebrated by adding a new true. She converted from True Leaf and guest to full host.
I did. And it
makes it sound like a parasite or something, but it's
it's okay. I'm a
kind of fell for it.
So.
We invited her on as a guest, and she did, of course, a great job talking about some things. And we were like, yes, that was the gateway.
She's kind of like the only person we thought of. We were like, hey, we need a new host. Who do you think would be interested? Like, who would we enjoy? And all of us were kind of like, so Jessica?
So at the exact same time.
They're like, gonna make me cry now that like we're being filmed. Well, thank you.
Not for the camera, Jessica. It's good for views.
Right.
But I questioned it. I was the one. I said, but does she like cheese? And the answer was, of course, yes. So it was a lot.
Yes,
100%.
I do like cheese.
It was a lot.
Obviously,
that was like the final interview process. I had to list off a bunch of cheeses that I like and how to prepare them.
Cheese advent calendar.
Yes. Oh yeah, cheese advent calendar.
Those are things. And Jessica got me one for Christmas, and it was incredible.
And we would text each day about what cheese did you open today, and do you like it or not?
It's a vibe. Yeah, it was. I had pocket cheese because we were like individually wrapped, so it would go in my pocket.
Wonderful.
Is it the cheeses that need to be served at room temperature or slightly above?
We'll say yes. I was never ill, so that's what matters.
Yeah. They were good either way.
Cheese is a dish best served cold.
Sorry, I brought it back to cheese.
Back to cheese again.
We can't escape it.
This is a plant podcast. I understand.
'Tis the season for cheesing.
I can say that I felt very honored to be asked to your podcast because, everybody had talked about how cool you guys were and how cool the podcast was.
That's us telling people that.
Yeah,
it was just when I would hang out with the three of you. And then you all would just tell me about how cool you were. So I was
really awesome. So you're welcome for being here.
We've had a good time with the podcast. And when you guys say that it's like Alexis, you said it's the 100th episode, I really can't believe it because it feels like, when we're preparing the show and going over show notes and things we're going to talk about, during recording sessions, we get to hang out with one another. And I enjoy everyone's company here. And I think there's always been this kind of, when we were first conceptualizing this and wondering if we should do it or not, we knew that it had to be something that built our energy up rather than took it down because it does take a lot of time. It takes dedication. I know we're only 100 episodes in, but it's a weekly podcast and it's on top of all of our regular duties that we do otherwise. Right. But it's the kind of show that it's been for me. It sort of builds me up to kind of hang out with these folks and we goof off and then the mic comes on and then we goof off some more. And we talk about really cool things with really cool guests. And we do, all these things that sometimes feels like plant therapy. So it's been a really cool experience. And I just can't believe it's been 100 episodes.
You get to learn a lot of things too, right?
Yes.
With our guests.
I love hearing
from each other. And, it's been good.
Yeah. I think for me, like any job, the more you do it, the more you get into it, the more that the bureaucracy and everything develops. You start to lose pieces of the reason you got into it, the actual core of why you were doing it in the first place. Sometimes, especially as other things in life come up, and so for me, this is talking about this stuff is at one of the cores of why I got into extension, why I'm interested in this stuff to begin with, is this human connection. It's the mission, it's the ideas, it's the things we want to share with people, while also having a good time and celebrating just being human and interacting with plants, which is the culture of horticulture. It's just this weird large group of people who just can't get enough of these photosynthetic friends.
The difference between horticulture and botany, because I think sometimes that people don't grasp. It's no, I'm not a botanist, I'm a horticulturist, and botanists will say the same thing. And I think the human
Botany is a
interaction, the
science and
social,
horticulture is a social.
the social and
it's not clear
economic
cut
side
like
of
yeah, maybe
botany
so.
You think we
added
could
in.
start a beef with botanists?
I
Ooh,
think
fight.
Probably.
Yeah.
Come at me. Maybe we should have maybe we should just have a botanist on, and then we can bridge those
We can-
differences.
We could have
Okay.
like a sing-off.
I
Oh,
could
I
start
guess.
it because you're just going to give me like plant names that I can't pronounce, right? And then that's going to set some people off, like right there.
Tomato. Am I saying that right?
Potato.
As a reminder, Latin is a dead language, so who's going to tell you you're wrong?
Oh, there you go.
I did open with Corgito ergo es, so I might
just took his
be
word
the
for
one.
it. We're like,
I might be the one offending everyone else.
That is an example
Whoops.
of something that if I heard it, it would make me chuckle. So I have a feeling it won't make anyone else laugh, which is great. Well, what if so we've done a lot of episodes in our time here.
One would say
how many?
almost 100.
Yeah, 99 up till today.
99
and then 100 as of
previously.
today, just to catch you up. To do some quick math. I did some more math. I went back through all of our episodes and I created a strange little methodology for determining which ones were our most popular while trying to control for the fact that some of these episodes have been out in the ether for 100 weeks and people can go and they can start from the beginning or they can find it. Some of them have been out in the ether for less than a week. And so I tried to control for that using a methodology I'm publishing in Podcast Dorks monthly, coming out next month. And I thought maybe we could run down a top 10 list here of our most popular episodes and see what we can remember, if we can remember anything from them. Yeah, and so these are across the gamut all the way through 2023 and 2024. We're now in 2025, so none of those are included. So number 10, like a drum roll. I need a drum roll or something. Fall from October 23rd, 2023. Fall is for planting.
Yeah, that was like a reminder that fall could be a time for planting.
I feel like anything with the title, I don't know, it's something about autumn, and I know we've talked a lot about seasonality on this podcast and how we love the changing of the seasons, it seems like, and everything associated with that. But I think it's an unfair leg up that it's a fall topic, because those fall topics, they seem to do pretty well, because that's a fairly, generalized, that's a general name for that podcast, and people find these things and discover them, a multitude of different ways. But
you're saying the word fall is like,
yeah, just fall.
like
I mean, so do people search autumn? Do they search fall? Do they search planting? Yeah. I mean,
it depends where they're located at.
Yeah, exactly. So you bring into geography into that, and it kind of confounds it even more. But I feel like those fall episodes, I love them. It's a real turning of the seasons here in Kentucky, where we're at, zone 6 and 7 or whatever the latest zone's going to be in the future. But I do love those fall episodes. So it's no surprise to me that did you say that was number 10?
Number 10. Yeah.
Okay. Not surprising.
Good observation, Ray, that 5 out of these top 10 were in September, October, or November.
We're in a seasonal business.
One year or the other.
If we're talking with producers and homeowners, and I guess that's not surprising also, I think about the seasonality and all the discussions we've had. We're going into longer nights, shorter days. Maybe people, I don't know, maybe they have more time to do things like listen to podcasts. What do you guys think?
Could be that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
they
we
just
are on our
didn't.
game.
Yeah,
because we have shed our summer ennui, and
maybe they sense that energy that we bring when we're talking about fall and the days getting cooler, and we've been sweating out of every open pore in our body. For those of you guys, especially those of you guys, I mean, the host here that produce, food and fiber and other fun things for the world. Yeah.
Well, number 9.
Yeah.
Organic matter, the unsung hero of healthy soil, from October 20th, 2024.
Okay, so that one's not been out very long.
That was a really fun one.
That hasn't been long. Yeah.
That one was a fun one, and organic matter can be pretty simple to talk about, or you can take a super deep dive into organic matter.
Yeah.
I remember that from that episode, that it can get into complex science, botany level science.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a fun episode, talking about organic matter, because it's so critically important to so much of what we talk about and what we do in the field of horticulture.
The botany discrepancy, it feels like it could be like the Parks and Rec, Parks Department versus libraries.
Oh yeah,
where it's like the botanist like, okay,
this is where the subdivisions happen.
Yeah,
we're cultivars, and you guys are just like natively
straight
occurring.
species.
Yeah,
straight species.
Number 8 on the list. Fall garden and landscape cleanup from August 27th, 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, we're just going to have to put the word fall in things.
Fall themed.
Yeah.
So far, we got some that break the pattern coming up, but
yeah. Do you think? I was wondering. Do you think it's because I think people tend to know more about like summer growing a garden and like the flowers, zinnias and the petunias, and fall is still a little unknown for a lot of newer gardeners, like the opportunities and what you should be doing. I like to think it's because they want to learn. Not just because they like pumpkin spice lattes, but that's okay too.
That's what I was thinking. If people are, getting ready to shut things down, or it's a transition period, so people want to know how to do it.
Gardens are already dead. So what can I do now with it?
This dead garden now. Yeah.
By August,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I guess fall is the kind of beginning of the dreaming of the next round. I don't know. I mean, this isn't like a hardcore methodology. It was just trying to attempt to see episodes that stood out relative to their time peers, like around the same time peers. Like this was these are the most, from their era, these were the most popular episodes. So the next one here from January 28th. So breaking the cycle, 2024, Kentucky horticulture economic situation and outlook, 2024.
Is that one? Did we have Tim on that one? Yeah.
Dr. Tim Woods of Agricultural Economics.
Have we told him he's in top 10 yet?
I haven't told him. I'm trying to do some ego management. No, I'm just kidding.
He's going to watch that.
Tim, that's kind of a funny thing.
Excuse me? Yeah.
This was great discussion on this one. I mean, I particularly like this because I love the econ outlooks and current analysis of the current situation, but it kind of surprised me that it was so high on the list, but I guess that speaks maybe to the fact of the commercial listeners that are on here. I mean, it's an economic outlook. It usually doesn't evoke really strong passion, econ, but maybe it did in this case. So
I think it's also possible that Tim got very excited about it and like sent it to a bunch of people, and then they listened to it because he was on it. Yeah, I think that's entirely possible.
Are you saying he spammed his entire mailing
list? That's horrible.
No, I think it's cool. Like, I'm not. It just is it's a funny idea of Tim. And it's part of it is that Tim and I have worked together for 10 years, and so we know each other very well. And so I'm just teasing, but I do think he was into it, and it was cool, and it was this fun, different thing, which is what we're trying to do with this podcast. Is we don't want this to feel like a really dry university output, that we want to do something that's listenable and fun, but also has some substance to it, and hopefully that comes through.
Worth your time that you might get a giggle out of. That's the goal. That's my goal.
Exactly.
Giggles.
Great episode.
Number, let's see, what am I on? 7? Number 7. Let's see. 10, 9, 8, 7. No, number 6. Sorry, that number 7 was the economic situation.
Okay.
Cultivating community, urban and community gardens with Bethany Pratt. That is our most recently featured episode on the list from November 3rd, 2024.
Top notch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a
really cool.
Yeah, something different to think about. Like it's just like, if people who maybe aren't involved in like urban community gardens, what is that like? Or people who are wanting to start them, maybe the search for community garden that popped up.
The keyword community garden. I mean,
had such a great perspective. Where she's been doing it for years, like great perspective on it, and all the things that can go right, all the things that can go wrong, and
the complexity behind it.
Hour.
And it's like so much less about the actual garden itself. It's all the
management
regs behind it too, just like to be able to use a space.
It's very.
You wouldn't want a botanist in charge of the community garden. You would want a horticulturist, a person who is able to bridge that gap
and work with culture.
Or a lawyer who's really good at
I'm gonna just wear that bit out for the rest of the episode.
You're gonna ride that pony into the sunset.
I'm gonna have like every botanist that is known like emailing me ferociously. How dare you?
Yeah. at me. Go ahead. At me, botanists. At Hort Culture Podcast.
That just means they're listening.
Hit me up.
I like it.
Just getting us
Come in
more
the
listeners.
DMs. Let me know what's up.
Yeah.
You can square off with grafting knives or something.
Oh, those are sharp.
Ooh, those-
I have
Yeah,
those in a lot
those
of
are-
places.
Yeah, you don't even feel it.
Yes. Remember, we must always take them out of our
Zero.
bags before we get on an airplane, Alexis, right? We must
Oh,
always do
gosh.
that.
Oh,
They're like-
wow, that's
they're in a
There's
lot of
podcast
spaces.
episode.
Not only do you have a knife, you have several knives.
We just have a lot of grafting knives in different places.
TSA,
I have, like,
the
one in
TSA
my
violations
car,
of the
one
horticulturalist.
One in my desk. You never know when you might need to graft something.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, well, something you might graft
Or,
potentially would be a pawpaw tree. And number 5 on our list is the pawpaw primer, which featured Dr. Kirk. I forgot his first name.
Pomper.
Kirk Pomper.
I had to think myself. Yeah, I was like, what was it? What was the name? He's committed. What's the
Dr.
name?
Kirk Pomper sat down
Yeah.
with us, and pawpaws are always a big draw. This was
Yeah.
another relatively recent episode from
Mhm.
September 8th, 2024.
Yeah,
and just
that's a
talking
unique
about the
program.
amazing pawpaw program that they have at KSU, nationally and internationally known for pawpaw
Mhm.
genetic research and
Literally bred pawpaws that people buy now. Like
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
are KSU
It
pawpaws.
was such
So
a
cool.
great discussion, and
Mhm.
learned so much myself personally from
Mhm.
hearing from someone like him that is involved on an international level and
Mhm.
on a genetics level. It was so cool. That was a really super
Same.
cool
Writing the
episode.
book.
Yeah.
It's
It's
really
also it's also fun to bring. So Dr. Pomper is Kirk is another person we've known and worked with for as long as I've been here, and it's fun to bring people in these other contexts into this environment where we're like, it's like this is a little more wacky
Informal.
than you're used to.
yes,
Yeah,
a little laid
informal.
back,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
like this is chill, man. And we were at a conference recently. I was trying to explain to people who clearly weren't listeners, otherwise they would know that how we are. But I was trying to tell them like it's pretty chill, but they were all real nervous and they want to know, how to prepare. And I was like, well,
To be guests. Yeah.
to be guests, yeah.
Yeah.
So there'll be
What
some
do you
more
know
guests
about
coming
food?
up.
Cheese.
But yeah, it was just fun to be like,
Yeah.
in the way that we are with him was fun.
I can say that from, being a guest the first time. I was like, when you asked me to talk about bees, and then I was
Mhm.
like, I know nothing about bees. How many years have I had bees? Right?
Like, Jessica, you know
What is
lots
your
of
formal
about
training?
In
bees.
all of
Jessica,
my years of
yeah.
having bees, I've not learned
I know
anything.
I need to read everything I know about bees, before I got on here. And then, of course, once I got on here, it was like super
It's like,
chill.
oh yeah, kind of some bees.
We
And
like
then, like,
honey.
About bees.
Yeah. And then, it just flows easily and
Nice. Well
good
played.
conversation.
I
Well
think
played.
for me, this format or the way that we do this, it feels like the best version of having an after extension meeting
The
conversation.
meeting after the meeting. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. With like you go and do, like I'll go and do a program about farmers market prices. And then afterward, people come up to me and they ask questions, and I'm just myself, very similar to how I am on the podcast, sociable, interacting. Same way with agents. Like it's just like the best version of that in this podcast form, where there's information, but it's friendly. It's the people, or it matters who the people are that are sharing. I think that to me is what I really enjoy the most about the vibe that we have been able to create. Is it feels like going into an extension office or going into and talking to somebody about somebody who cares about this maybe as much as you do, maybe more in the case of some of you crazy people.
Botanists.
Yeah, now you're the one. Okay, so number 4 on the list. About to crack the top 3 here in a second. From the day before Halloween, August 30th, 2023.
August,
All
September,
vibes.
October.
What?
Did you say August? You said
August.
August 30th, the day before
It's
Halloween.
also called October. I mean, it depends on
Also
which.
known
If you're on a
as-
Like, that
Gregorian
is
calendar,
not
or-
close to
That's
Halloween.
Latin, Alexis. That's Latin. Come on.
You'll
Nobody's
actually-
gonna know.
you'll actually
Nobody's gonna know.
You
Nobody's
listen to
gonna
me
know.
more than I listen to
Just
myself.
let him
sometimes.
keep talking, okay? Let's
Yeah.
just keep
They
going.
kind of
I'm
both
sorry.
start with
You're wrong.
that awe sound, and I just sounded out. I'm a child of
Phonetically,
phonics.
it's tough. That was a good one. I
October.
love the spooky vibes of that one. It was
Did
kind
you
of
say the name?
Fall
Yeah, what was
vibes
the
and
name?
plant folklore.
Ray's
hard
just looking at his own list over there.
Yeah, I'm looking
He's
at
like,
my own.
I remember the folklore.
I print everything, but I like that because it was a little different. And plants are, that's one of those things we came up with the ideal, however, and we got to thinking, well, do we have enough material for that? But it turns out we did, because plants being a part of culture and culture having its own ethos and kind of its own folklore was not a terribly hard one to do, but it was a terribly fun one to do. So that was a good
Do you
one.
remember offhand any, I think we talked maybe about the turnip to pumpkin.
Yeah, we talked about divining for water on that one.
The divining rods.
Yeah.
Man, that was so
interesting
fun.
discussion on that one. Yeah. There was a lot of discussion, that was
another word
regional
besides
based.
divining?
Well, I guess
a more folksy word.
Water witching, or there's several different terms I've heard it called.
Water witching, I've heard. What is that word?
It's a word. There's another word.
Needs to look that up.
Something rod, isn't it?
Well, the divining rod.
Yeah,
I thought we'll have to go back and listen to that episode and see if we
all need to go back and listen.
If we mentioned it,
That was a fun one though. It had that creepy plant vibe, and that was really, really good stuff. And we talked about creepy plants, I believe, like nightshade, and some of the ones that have a well-deserved reputation for nefarious reasons. So yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah, I think in general we've done some episodes that have a little more of a human cultural flavor than the plant side. Some of those, performed okay as far as, all of them do fine, and we really appreciate all of our listeners. But as far as pulling out what we do, this was one of them that had that culture of horticulture feel. I thought, which was really fun. I'm glad it was in this top little bit.
Yeah.
So number 3 on our list comes from the third month of the year, March.
I was like,
it's not. My birthday's in March.
Call the gas company at my house.
Yeah.
Call help.
Oxygen's being depleted.
March 10th, 2023. So you bought a farm.
Was that our very first episode?
It was our very first episode.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
March 10th, 2023.
You can tell because we didn't talk about food as much on the intro.
Yeah,
you can tell it was the first episode.
I actually do kind of want to go back and listen to that one and just hear how stiff and nervous we might have been. And just
we had I still have my notebook that I wrote a bunch of stuff down in, and the intro and what I was going to say on the out, which is and how I outlined every episode. I still have all those random notes with doodles all over them.
I don't even know if we had the intro jingle and the outro jingle. I don't think we had any of that.
Now you can just repeat that anywhere, right? Your intro.
In your sleep.
If you want some entertainment, listen to the little episodes that Ray and I did for Christmas, and we were check us out on Instagram and all the things
and stuff, and grow something with us.
And grow with us.
I don't always say that. Sometimes I forget.
Well, we think you always say it. Okay, just let it live like that in our heads that you always say it.
But that was something that sort of developed, and then Alexa standardized it by actually recording it. We were able to inject that into the podcast program, and it became our thing, our intro, and our exit jingle is just the jingle. But yeah, things like that you pick up over time. You pick up a rhythm, and that's part of getting to know you guys and knowing, what we can talk about and kind of,
And apparently, a lot of people have bought a farm and they don't know what to do with it.
And that was a really good discussion. We talked about some of our classic tools. Yeah. Because that's one of the biggest questions we get is, folks that are new to farming, they're like, well, what's the practicality? We have 10 tillable acres, and then they start from scratch. And that's a common scenario we have. And that's why I enjoyed that discussion so much. And hearing, your guys' take. At that time, it was Josh, Brett, and Alexis. But hearing everyone's take on things that you need to focus on first when you're answering that question, so what do I do now that I have a farm? And thinking so that was a really great structured discussion.
ccd.uky.edu.
That's right. I was going to say, go to the CCD website, take the Hort quiz. I can't say
Hort
Biz quiz.
Hort Biz quiz. It's just fun to say. What's number 2?
Number 2, yeah.
Let's see. I somehow closed out. Ray, do you have number 2 over there?
I think that was, we are up to number 2, how to grow more in less space, the secrets of interplanting and companion planting.
Wow.
So basically intensive growing in small spaces, sort of we talked about like raised bed garden spaces and interplanting and a lot of the concepts of intensive planting.
And that was from April of 23, so only about a month after we first got started.
Yeah,
we hit our stride early, it seems.
Just downhill from there, baby.
But that, once again, that's a common question we get is these intensive gardening or intensive space, small space gardening, all of these things are super common things that we see on a weekly basis in county offices, especially during like April, May, and June. The growing months and the getting started months of growing
and
things.
Just like I think companion planting, if you're new, can be like a super hyped up thing, but kind of being realistic about what that means and what benefits are there versus what people think are there.
Right.
Is an important distinction that hopefully those of you who listen learn.
So before we reveal number 1, I wanted to just invite you all to, if you had one that we haven't talked about that jumps out in your mind or that you remember, that you enjoyed and really liked. Yeah. Do you have one? If the answer is no, that's okay.
Well, Jessica has less to pick from unless she wants to talk about one she wasn't on.
Well, and I'll give you guys a chance to think, and I'll go ahead and share. So mine, which happens to be the very worst performing episode that we have done, is Reasons We Grow Other Than Money, which was from June 4th,
I enjoyed
2023.
that one. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was a good one to
worst. The gap between first and worst is not like so big that it's, forget about it altogether. But I just really liked that because I think it is an example of how our podcast is maybe a little bit different, that we have this range all the way from companion planting and interplanting and soil, organic matter in soil, all the way through to inspiration and folklore and all that kind of stuff. That range, it has underscored to me how much of human activity in life is impacted by plants and our interactions and relationships with them. And it was cool because at that point, this was, again, 3 months into us doing the podcast. And I think all of you all were a little bit like, what is this idea for this episode? Like, what can we talk about? We could just, should we just talk about like being human with plants? And of course, now we've leaned into that altogether, but we were just figuring it out. So yeah, absolutely dead last. And just to add insult to injury, the second to worst was one of the early episodes, Strategies for Pricing Your Hort Crops, which was another one that was featured stuff that I'm interested in.
Well, it's probably because we led in with the term strategies, and people were like, "No, thank you, no, thank you. We're not here to strategize. We're here for the culture." Maybe that's what it was.
I don't like other people. Shut that Brett guy up.
I don't know my exact favorite one because it's hard for me to think about like how many I've done with you all already. Like earlier, I was like, when did I officially start? Because I did the beekeeping one, and I did one with like right after the beekeeping one with you all, and but just like when I look back at the list, like I don't know why this pops in my head. When we did the like terrarium one, I just remember Brett in that episode being like, "Wow, you all are like plant people." Like, and I don't know why that sticks out to me. That moment when he was just like I realized like
it took all those episodes for you to figure that out.
Like, not that we're on a different level, because I mean you're a bonsai master,
different type of plant people.
That is so cool that you are a bonsai master. I had a bonsai once and I killed it instantly.
More of a kamikaze.
But it was just, I don't know, that comment when you were like, you all like really love plants.
Oh, plants in general. Yeah.
Yeah. We just said like deep dived and we're like naming off all these things. And
we're just like name it. And we're,
And if it's a plant, you all are going to love it. And
yeah. And it was like,
for me, I'm like, there's some of them that y'all can just keep.
Poison ivy, species. We don't like those itchies. Yeah.
But I've had, there's been quite a few that I've really enjoyed. And then like other ones, like the pawpaw one we mentioned, that was like one of the first ones where people were like, hey, I listened to you on, this podcast, or like firefighters at my husband's station, like said that they had started like listening, and I was like, oh,
man,
I was like, well,
that's awesome.
Not talk bad about my husband on here.
People are listening. People are listening.
Yeah. So do you feel that fame has changed you, Jessica?
I mean, I already do local radio, so
you kind of had already made it before we found you
for
late
the
in your
local
career.
eso.
This
is all
So we're sort of like rejuvenating your career.
Mid-market.
Right.
Your second
I
gotcha.
To her market.
To my resume of radio podcasting.
I think it's obvious. I probably like all of the like in-depth production style ones where we get like science-y on you. I get really excited about talking about soil and
No, you don't.
No, me. And of course, like flowers, we have a couple flower focused episodes, which are always fun and makes me feel like I know a bunch of things. But I think beyond those obvious ones, I really liked the myth busting one we did, where we kind of each came up with, a few myths that we've heard, come into the office or we see on social media all the time, where people are like, oh, if a bell pepper has 4 lobes on the bottom, it has no seeds. And you're like,
if you get water on the leaves of a plant in the sunshine, it will act as a magnifying glass that will blast the laser.
Burn it up.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Or
like if you plant
a marigold
rain
during the daytime.
Never gonna happen.
Ever. Yeah, that wasn't pre-programmed into nature. So that one was pretty fun, just because we see so many of these, and we're like, who came up with this? What?
All the things on Facebook that are just so. It's like
my dad, like the ones that my dad will randomly call me. He'll be like, "Hey, so I saw," and I'm like, "No." The answer is no. No. You're not doing that. No.
Let's stop you right there.
Let me stop you right there.
Let's cut this conversation short.
Yeah.
What about you, Ray?
I guess not so much a favorite episode, but a favorite type of episode, and it's one you've already mentioned. I realize that episodes where we do like self-reflections, I really enjoy those. I like episodes where we acknowledge a changing of seasons.
Ray wants therapy when he comes here.
I do. I come from garden therapy. I want a therapy garden.
You share stories from the olden days.
From the
olden days. Yeah. But I enjoy those, even though it's a different sort of thing. It's just sort of not on the opposite end of what Alexis just mentioned, but instead of like conveying a certain subject matter topic, it's more looking inward, why we do things, who we are, why we do what we do, sort of reflection pieces in some cases. But I really like those, and I particularly like all of those episodes. Whatever episodes we're doing in the fall, it's my favorite time of the year. Whatever topic, even lawns. I know that we don't always have lawn fans on here, but even lawn episodes, even lawn topic. I heard somebody groan. I heard that.
That's me.
But
I support you, Ray.
Yeah, even though but I have clover in my backyard. Okay, I seeded that in the fall.
Fine. Like the other guys.
It's fine. It's
clover.
Green.
It's pure clover. But yeah, I like the fall topics and the reflection pieces. All the topics are great, whether we're talking about the hardcore econ subject matter stuff, or we're talking about organic matter deep dives, or the reflection pieces. But I tend to like the fall themed topics. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think each of you all bring this. There's shared experience, but there's such a different vantage point of how all this stuff works and how you interact with it, that I think to me is really it's really awesome that, like, for instance, like Jessica has both the agent perspective, but also has been doing this farming thing with mixed vegetables as well as livestock, and then entomology background and all the other, and then Alexis being kind of like, I think, just this pure plant person who's like the most passionate about plants of anyone that I know.
Don't call it dirt.
And then Ray, like, I don't choose favorites, and you all know how much I love myself. So to say that you might be my favorite Hort Culture host is really saying. I mean, fair. It's close between.
It's true.
That's honestly a little shocking, but
yeah. But you have had a like very Kentucky agricultural life. I feel like you have these things that you talk about that are just perspectives that I would never have thought of. I've already talked about it many times, but what you introduced me to the term "blue side of the mountain" was like a formative moment in my life, just as a beautiful, like experiencing beautiful things and ways of saying beautiful things. So I don't know. It's just been really fun to work through these things together and share and just have these different weird human experiences that we bring together and mash together and call it a podcast.
We have a theme, and we each have our own culture that we kind of surrounded us when we grew up, and that's one of the absolute coolest things.
Well, so when you leave a review, make sure you put who your favorite host is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Brett with two T's. Brett with two T's.
Wolf, W-O.
There's two F's. Two F's.
Brett with two T's, Wolf with two F's.
It's hard to compete with a game with a name like Brett Wolf. I'm just going to say that's unfair.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, we had before, I feel like, two names that were so good they sounded fake. Josh Knight, which superhero status name, and Brett Wolf, another superhero status name. Not fair. How are you going to compete?
When I was a child, someone said, "You sound like you were an author."
Yes,
like, I'm a child. Okay.
Yes, Virginia.
I am a
child author.
Leave me alone.
Well, so we got one more left here on here, and I think it's an appropriate connection point for all of us, actually, in different ways. From January 19th, 2024, almost exactly a year ago, from when we're recording, at least, it was garden layout and design. And isn't that what we're all really doing here?
There's little pieces of all of us in it. That's true.
It's the junction of art and science, because that is landscaping in a nutshell. You've got the art on one side, the science on the other, and it kind of is that Venn diagram that blends somewhere in the middle. So
it's the Thomas Jefferson, "I am an old man, but I am but a young gardener."
Yeah, I've got that on my refrigerator. Yeah. Love it. Love it.
Jessica and I throwing production at you. We're like, okay, but make sure your tomatoes are trellised. All right.
Yes. Yep.
Well, yeah, I think it's been a crazy 100 episodes. Pretty fun. It has been so much more fun than I even expected. I knew interacting with you all would be fun, but the actual doing of the podcast and bringing in the guests
fills my bucket.
Yeah, it's just been awesome. I actually look forward to recording, and I think it comes across from all of us. I think we feel that way. It comes across in the
absolutely
in the product. Do you have any other thoughts about 100 episodes? Anything to?
Cheers to 100 more.
I literally was going to say that word for word, Ray.
Oh, wow!
I can't. You took it right out of my brain.
On second thought, maybe we're hanging out too much.
Maybe this could be an indicator.
I see Brett a lot these days, guys. When we first started this episode, it was like an occasional Brett moment, which was cool, And now I see and talk to him
wolf siding
legitimately,
daily.
I think every day.
Yeah, which is terrible.
It's
for
a vibe.
For her, not for me. For me, it's wonderful. Every day is a new blessing.
Glad you clarified, Brett. That could have went terribly sideways.
I was completing her
You're filling her bucket.
You used to get just a little taste, and that was good. It's not something I would want every day.
Hired me, all right. So
yeah.
Well, cool. We hope you enjoy. I mean, I think if you've made it this far in this type of episode, you probably enjoy hearing from us because there wasn't a whole lot of content today other than we think we're great. We think you all are great.
Reflecting.
But I do hope maybe you bookmarked a couple of the episodes that we mentioned to go back and check out because it is easy. I know it's easy to if you aren't a completionist that wants to start at one and listen all the way through. There might be some in between that are of note for you, and you can go back and check them out.
There's also 99 out there for you.
There's a lot of good content. And also keep in mind that was mentioned earlier that this is the first time that we are trying the addition of the video format over on YouTube. So you just simply go to YouTube and type in Hort Culture, and it should be the first hit that comes up. You'll know us by the blue logo. So look for that if you want to put a name with a face.
If you're like me and every time I listen to a podcast, I'm like, what do these people look like? I need to put a face to this voice.
So I can picture them. Yeah.
Here you go. We don't always look this way. At least I don't. Sometimes I'm a goblin. So that's fun.
I'm always bald.
And
that does not change.
Always
Singular
a bald boy.
is always bald. Yes,
Sad.
that is true. Oh, unfortunately, we'll have to have Josh back on with a video.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, the reunion of the bald boys. Yeah,
you just get a picture of him and have it like over my shoulder.
Perfect.
Ooh, that has Jessica's backdrop, just like a giant.
It kind of feels a little like Vladimir Lenin-y a little bit.
Yeah,
like bleeder.
All right. Well, we've already talked about leaving us a review. We'd love if you did that. Tell us why you enjoy it. Tell us your favorite episode. Tell us your favorite host and why it's Ray. That's all good. You can check us out on Instagram. You can leave us messages there. Always shoot us an email. We put all that down in there in the show notes. So it's easy for you to click on, and you don't have to write it down if your hands are dirty or on a steering wheel, because some of you, that is the case. But if you got some ideas, or if you want to be featured, you want to be a guest, you got something to say, let us know. We want to hear from it. But sorry, I had to swallow there and remembered I was on video and I did a lot of weird hand things just now.
That was so good. Oh, that was so good.
We hope you keep listening. We're thankful for you true leaves out there, and then we hope you will join us next time. Have a good one.